Hey everyone. Okay, in this video, let's talk about change at the Disney parks. So a few weeks ago at the Destination D event, the president of Disney Parks and Resorts, Mr. Bob Chapek, had a lot to say in regards to change at Disney parks. I'm going to read his quote and then we're going to talk about it. All right, so Bob Chapek said, Walt never intended his parks to be museums where people come to see Disney history. Instead, they're living things that evolve with the times and with the guests. So now, obviously when he said this, a lot of the fandom got upset. What does he mean? What does he mean? We can't change things. And, you know, look, he's not wrong. Bob Chapek is not wrong. Go back and watch the videos of Walt talking about Disneyland. He wanted the park to constantly change. He wanted it to evolve. It was a sandbox for creatives to work and play in. It was never to be completed. Okay? Never to be completed. Now, I think what a lot of fans are confusing is that, you know, change doesn't always mean change you're going to like. You know, you might not have liked the fact that they turned Tower of Terror into a Guardians of the Galaxy attraction. You might not like that idea. But it's not wrong of them to try something different, to change things. Walt wanted this. He wanted the place to evolve. He didn't want a museum. He didn't want it to be stagnant. He wanted it to evolve. So what Mr. Chapek is saying is basically, look, this is not a museum. You're not going to walk into Disneyland and basically have it be a shrine to everything of the past. Okay? And it shouldn't be. That goes counter to what Walt wanted for Disneyland. He didn't want it to just be wrapped in bubble wrap and you walk through and, oh, look at that history. Oh, look at that history. He wanted it to be changing, evolving, growing with the times. He wanted that. Okay? Now, a lot of fans will come, and I've gotten this a lot on Twitter because I do support change at the parks. You know, I want these places to evolve. But I see a lot of people come at me with like things like, oh, well, you know, well, then what do you think about the castle being bulldozed and rebuilt as something different? Or what do you think about this? Look, change doesn't mean just arbitrarily demolishing things and rebuilding them. Okay? Obviously, you can't bulldoze the castle. It's the icon of the park. Okay? There's shades of change. There's different levels of change. Change could be something as small as a new paint job for the castle, or updating it, upgrading it, beautifying it, right? And it can be as crazy as bulldozing all of Tomorrowland. But each project, each attraction, each land has to be seen through different eyes in terms of what change and what level of change is appropriate. It's not one size fits all. Just because, you know, the appropriate thing right now is to bulldoze Tomorrowland and rebuild it doesn't mean that same model applies to the icon of the park, the castle. Okay? There's levels in different shades of change, and that's what, you know, that's actually the fine line, the struggle that management has to walk, you know, because they have to figure out what's appropriate and, you know, and kind of gauge it. Okay? But just because, you know, I'm a fan who supports change. I love change at the Disney parks. It's exciting to me. Right? But just because I support change doesn't mean that I support bulldozing everything and rebuilding everything from scratch. No, not at all. Obviously, I would be against that. Obviously, if they decided to bulldoze New Orleans Square and put something different there, I would be against that. I would be against that. But I wouldn't be against beautifying New Orleans Square, changing it a little bit, making it, you know, a new paint job or adding another building or whatever, you know. Change doesn't mean bulldozing necessarily. There's different levels of change. So what Chapek is saying is, yeah, look, you know what, we're not going to go into these parks with the idea that this is a holy site, that this is a sacred ground and that nothing can be touched. He's absolutely right. Whether you like Chapek or not, he's right. They shouldn't have that mentality with Disney parks. That goes against Walt's wishes for the park. That goes counter to what Walt wanted for these parks. Now again, you might not like every change. You probably won't. I don't like every change. There are things that have been done that I don't like at Disney parks. But guess what? That's the beauty of change, right? Because if you don't like something now, you can figure in a few years, they're probably going to change it again, right? So just wait it out. They'll probably change it again. That's the beauty of change. And that's the only constant in Disney parks is change. The only thing that you can count on for Disney parks is change. Okay? Disneyland is more than the brick and mortar structures. If Disneyland, if the buildings themselves were what constituted what the park was, then Disneyland would have ceased to exist years ago. Years ago. The park has changed a lot over the years, but it still is Disneyland, right? Because Disneyland isn't about this building or that building. It's about the idea of transporting you to a new time, new period, new world, new whatever. That's what Disneyland is. That's the heart, that's the DNA of this park and all the parks, transporting you. It doesn't matter if it's a Tomorrowland or if it's a Galaxy's Edge. It doesn't matter if it's a Fantasyland or if it's a Pandora or it's whatever. It doesn't matter. The transporting you to a new world, new time period, that's what matters. That's what matters. And that's what these parks are built on, not the brick and mortar. The brick and mortar is going to change, but the concept behind the parks are what stays the same. So what do you guys think about my thoughts on change at the Disney parks? What do you think about Bob Chapek, his comments? I agree with the guy. I do. I agree with Chapek. The parks need to change. They need to evolve. You're not going to like everything, but you got to embrace change. What do you guys think about it? Do you disagree? Do you agree? I love to hear from you guys. Please, if you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, and as always, have a magical day.